Hello, I'm your host, Kevin McHugh, and welcome to the political arena for the first episode of hopefully many to come, and we're going to educate you today about the Israeli-Palestine problem. You hear about it a lot, you see it in the news a lot, you see footage of carnage, especially in a place called the Gaza Strip. A lot of people talk about it. A lot of people don't know what it is. So today we're going to kind of clarify a little bit of everything for you today. We're going to start off the political arena with a little bit of foreign policy because I've had a couple of people ask me to do this. So let's jump right into it. And to understand the Israeli conflict, you have to understand the history of it. Now, the history goes back to biblical times. For sake of conversation and simplicity, right now we're going to go back into the history of 1948 when Israel became its own country. So we're going to start a little bit of history. It was founded in 1948 by a referendum in the United Nations created by Great Britain, led by Great Britain, and the group called the Zionists, which was an Israeli Jewish group who sought their own nation. And Israeli became its own state. However, the problem is, not the problem, but one of the good news is that the United States and USSR recognized them immediately, except the Arab League, which includes Egypt, Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon, which surround this country, this sovereign country. So they're the only countries that don't recognize them, or the countries surrounding them. And when you have that, you got a problem. So the three religions here, that are the three main religions, include first the faith of Islam, and the reason the faith of Islam is important here is because that is the Temple Mount, the third most holy place in the religion of Islam, and it is believed that's where the Prophet Muhammad ordered his early followers to pray there because he could get closer to Allah as you go up on top of the hill. It is a very important and somber place for the faith of Islam, which is why many Islamic groups want Jerusalem, which is in Israel. Second faith is Judaism, and Judaism, Jewish followers believe this is the place where Abraham was going to sacrifice his son Isaac for the love of God, and it's a very important place for Jewish people was because this is where their religion was founded, on top of that hill where the current Temple Mount is. That's where they believe the foundation stone of Judaism was, and they see that as that is the most holy place for the Jewish faith, and they hold on to that dearly, which is why they don't want to give up Jerusalem, which is why Israel in no way whatsoever wants to give that up, because for that reason. And they also believe it is the place where King David built his famous temple to worship. So that's why it's very important to the second Jewish faith. And finally, we have the Christians. Christianity, this is an important place for Christianity because this is the place where they believe Jesus would go to the temple to worship and pray with the local people there. And this is also the same place where Jesus got upset because he found people gambling and doing sinful acts up there, so he turned the tables and lashed the marketers there. And it's a very holy place for all three religions. It's the birthplace of a religion, the third most holiest place of a religion, and this is the area where Jesus lived, Jerusalem, Bethlehem, where he was born and died, is this region. So it's important to all three religions. And it's why this area is so important and crucial to humanity. Well, after the country of Israel was founded, over 300,000 Jews in surrounding areas from the Middle East and Europe fled to Israel, to its new country. And the mass migration feared surrounding countries like Egypt, Jordan, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon. They were worried because they didn't see them as a country, and they see this country getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And some countries didn't want them to grow at all. Mostly Egypt. Egypt was the leader of most of these attacks and acts of aggression. So what Egypt did in 1950, they closed the Suez Canal, which is a crucial port and way of travel for Israel to get its supplies. And Israel didn't see this, they saw this as an act of aggression, so they decided to take some action, but they really didn't have a military, so they made a secret alliance with France and Great Britain, and with the help of those two strong countries, they conquered the Sinai Peninsula, and they conquered the Suez Canal. However, after controversy, the United Nations declared that if Israel wanted to use the Red Sea for shipping rights, they'd have to give the Suez Canal and the Sinai Peninsula back to Egypt, which they did promptly. But it showed an act of aggression towards their rival, Israel's rivals. So it sparked some controversy in the surrounding area, and it made relations worse. However, tensions calmed down for a little bit up until 1967, and specifically May of 1967, where Egypt moved its forces toward the border of Israel. And Israel claimed that this is an act of aggression, and they implemented an attack in fear that Syria, Egypt, and Jordan were going to come together in this secret alliance like Israel did and invade Israel, which was highly likely considering that these three countries despised and didn't even recognize Israel as a country, and they just wanted them dead, which was the ultimate goal. So Israel decided to initiate an attack. So they implemented a strong and fierce attack, which only lasted 6 days, and they defeated Jordan, they defeated Egypt, and they defeated Syria, and they conquered they conquered the West Bank, they conquered the Gaza Strip, the Sinai Peninsula, and the Golan Heights in just 6 days. They conquered all of these areas, which is a great military accomplishment for Israel and showed their military power to the rest of the world that they can defend themselves. And they held this territory for quite some time, and they showed their strength, which kind of calmed down things for a little while up until 1973 on Yom Kippur. Egypt and Syria allied together in an attempt to attack Israel on one of the most holy days of the Judeans' faith, one of the most holy days of Yom Kippur, and they initiated an attack. And this attack was defended by Israel. Israel defended its territory with the opportunity cost of a couple thousand men. But what they conquered and accomplished was way more, and their sacrifice showed what their country was about. And they defeated Syria and Egypt in an attempt to take over the country. So this deterred much violence, but there was still tension, a lot of tension. And Israel kept its territory. So after the Suez Canal going back to Egypt, and the Sinai Peninsula mostly going back to Egypt, there was a Camp David summit held by President Bill Clinton in 2000, and relations went back and forth for some time. So the Camp David summit was an attempt by Pakistan to get the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, so Pakistan could have their own country. And negotiations fell through the table. Israel blamed Palestine, Palestine blamed Israel, and relations went back and forth, and they still are today. And Palestine does not recognize Israel as a country at all, like Egypt did at one time. They don't recognize them as a country, nor do they want to, especially the terrorist organization Hamas, which is a registered terrorist organization by the United States. And Palestine, being a radical terrorist organization, they are trying to take out as many Israelis as possible to threaten them to kill sovereignty in Israel. And it's succeeding because they've killed about 1,100 innocent Israeli civilians in retaliation of Israel just being a country. And in reaction to this, President Benjamin Netanyahu in 2002 ordered the construction of a Great Wall, We've heard that before. Of a great wall, make Israel great again, right? Anyway, so they built a great wall around the Gaza Strip, mostly to protect Israel from terrorists, mostly Hamas terrorists. There's peaceful ones in Gaza Strip and the West Bank and around this area. However, Hamas is just, with their terrorism, threatening Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, built a wall to protect themselves, and it's worked. However, the wall has sparked controversy. It has sparked controversy, especially from the United Nations, because it, quote, disturbs relations and they feel threatened, Palestine. However, it's the Israelis who are being threatened, with Hamas constantly harassing them and terrorizing them, and now they're using rocket launchers and artillery, and they're putting them in schools that the United Nations gave money for them to build schools, and what are they using it for? They're using them for beds, for artillery, weapons, and ammo. They're not using them to educate, they're using them for military purposes. So, and it's sickening to see Gaza Strip go in the cesspool it is. So if they were smart, they would want to negotiate with Israel. The Palestine government doesn't want to do that. And the Palestinian government and the Israeli government, well, the Israeli government wants to actually build a $5 billion port in the Gaza Strip to help the economic situation there. And in return, Israeli politicians and leaders believe the seaport will strengthen the economy, which it will, and will in turn weaken Hamas, because Hamas depends on the support of the people there. And the people support them because of the situation they're in. They believe that's Israel's fault. When in reality, it's the Palestinian government's fault that doesn't want to recognize Israel, so they don't want to negotiate with them. The politicians, the people who are peaceful, should learn the art of compromise and strike a deal with the Israelis to help their living situation there. But today, Israel is undoubtedly the most economic and the biggest economic powerhouse in the region. They are the United States of the Middle East. They have the best military and the best economy by far. They are the second largest. They have the second most startups in Israel, right behind the United States. Startups brings innovation and entrepreneurs to the table, which produce a better economy, which is good for every economy. They also are ranked 17 in most developed. They're the 17th most developed economy. Their economy is also one of the world's most durable economies, and they are also rank first in research and development projects. And they also have a very strong and efficient national bank, and they have many, many, many exports. Mostly, they produce a lot of pharmaceuticals and medical equipment and technology, and they export a lot to the United States, which we're developing a medicine that they think that can cure Alzheimer's or reverse Alzheimer's, which is amazing. It's amazing. And we'll end it with GDP facts. So their GDP per capita is about 36,000. And by the way, these are 2016 estimates for this year. And their total GDP is about $306.2 billion, which ranks 35th in the world, higher than any other country surrounding the region. So Palestine really should learn and really negotiate in order to achieve peace and prosperity for their nation and Israel. I'm Kevin McHugh. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe. And if you have any ideas for future videos, please put them in the comment section below. Thank you very much, and have a good day.